It started with this idea that people wanted to protest. They wanted to occupy Wall Street. A flood of people set up tents, kitchens, barricades to occupy Wall Street. There was a flood of people who set up tents, kitchens, there were barricades, everyone there to occupy Wall Street. You could relate that back to the 1960s. They used the name sit-in. People would just sit there and fold their arms and not move. The new name, however, is Occupy Wall Street, and that was possibly influenced by the World War. Who was selected to lead this group of protesters? Well, really nobody, just the people who went and got involved. This group was located out of Zuccotti Park. The park was not a city park, it was a private property. So police could not make arrests. They were stuck. If it was a city park, then yes, they would be forced to leave. Before the protests began, Mayor Bloomberg said that he had heard that there was a group of people that would like to protest, and he allowed it. He said, "Here's the area, you're welcome to use it." This all started, the march, the protest, everything started September 17th with a flood of people that all came to Zuccotti Park in New York. They tried to take control, and again more and more people came, and this went on for a few months. Who was involved in occupying Wall Street? Well, mostly 20 to 30-year-olds who were just upset about the economy, the Afghanistan war, dirty air and water, just the world a mess, no money. So there's a lot of groups that were getting involved. There were many people in the U.S. that believed the U.S. had wrong plans for their nation, and that's what the protesters were really hoping to change. Facebook and Twitter branched out to its followers. Other cities copied. This first started September 17th with about 1,000 people who rallied down the streets. The NYPD banned camping in Zuccotti Park or using tents. So about 100 to 200 people stayed overnight at the park, sleeping in bags or boxes. Between September 17th and September 19th, 7 people were arrested. The second week of September 24th, the marches continued and streets were closed. Over 80 people were arrested for blocking traffic, a few for disorderly conduct or fighting against the arrests. Orange nets were used. This technique was called kettling. It was used to restrain a group of individuals blocking the marches. Marches between Zuccotti Park and Union Square. At this particular spot, police said that the protesters needed a permit in order to march. Sources say they saw police pepper spray over 3 women, screaming, falling on the floor, begging for help. YouTube streamed the footage of police officers using these orange nets to pen in their protesters. One person was seen pepper spraying them and running away. Another group named Anonymous, interesting name, posted the name of the officer who was seen spraying the people. His name is Anthony Bologna. He was the deputy inspector for the New York City Police Department. He was in charge of the 1st Precinct. Before the arrest was made, Bologna told another officer to arrest a man who he believed his rights were violated, this man that was arrested, and he was wrongly convicted. I'm not really sure what happened with that, so, we'll address that later or not at all. Anyway, police said Bologna sprayed the people because while the police were trying to use the kettling approach with the orange netting, another man came up and tried to get involved and was pushing, so they used the spraying technique with the pepper spray. Were they right to use pepper spray? Well, YouTube, there was this big spike where they only showed bits and pieces, little clips, so I'm not sure if they even had a full video, or maybe I missed it, whichever. We'll discuss that, but the story, who protested, we'll discuss that later, but the story about the protesters and they were being thrown out because they were blocking traffic. I don't know, it goes back and forth whether or not they should have actually used the pepper spray. October 1st was the March on Brooklyn Bridge, where over 700 people were arrested. They used city buses to cart the arrested protesters to jail. One man's story said that police did nothing, they just stood there, and another said, oh, we had them backing up.